Today I'm joined by Erik SWINSON, a world-class miniature painter, a multi-award winner, and also one of the trusted educators in the industry. Erik got into miniature painting over a decade ago through Warhammer like most of us. Since then, he's gone on to win at some of the biggest competitions in the world. And what sets him apart from his awards is that he also has a Feedback Friday session every week where he helps thousands of miniature painters from all over the world to improve their work. In this video, I sit down with Erik to break down his thought process on how he critiques from beginner miniature painters to advanced level masters.
The people that are a little harder, or the advanced painters that are...
And you want to make sure to stay until the end because Erik actually critiques one of my works in detail.
That's my thoughts. I would probably push some of the shadows to separate this belt a little more.
You wouldn't want to miss this. I bet you'll enjoy, you bastards. All the kind of feedback and all the workshops that you do, like what are the common issues that you see among like beginner, miniature painters?
This is really hard because and I've talked about this quite a bit before too. I think there's sort of two approaches to miniature painting. You have the people that come straight into the display painting side, like the large scale figure painting, and maybe they learn from more theory at the beginning and they need time to practice the fundamentals of like brush control and really how to work the paint. Maybe they have good ideas and creative decision making. And then you have sort of the other side of the people that come from army painting or something, and they've maybe had some years of practice with the brush and they can do a good base coat and they can paint clean lines, but they don't have so much the theory yet, and they're moving into display painting. So it's hard to say, like, because everyone is at a different place on their journey. So picking one thing that's like you see throughout is really hard, but there's definitely like some commonalities that you begin to catch, right? Like some people have too much focus on detail, right? They lose sight of the big picture. That's a very common thing I see. Certain things like over-reliance on contrast. They want to make everything with maximum contrast and they lose, the image becomes noisy, right? So yeah, there's definitely a few typical things I see, and if you've watched Feedback Friday yourself, you've probably seen some of these like themes come up before, where I'll give feedback to one person, and then the next person, it's like, okay, let's talk about the same thing again, mm-hmm. Right? Like, let me try and really hammer home this concept that I'm trying to get across. Because it's definitely some commonalities.
There's the beginner, and then there's someone who's been painting for a while and has some of the fundamentals in place. So is it easier when it comes to giving feedback for someone who's a little bit more intermediate or more advanced?
Intermediate I find to be the hardest thing to give feedback to. Okay. Actually, beginners typically are there's normally things that stand out quite obvious. Mm-hmm. They can be a little more. They can be really easy to get feedback to. Like, here's okay, you need to work on this specific thing. Work on that. Let's not worry about all this high concept stuff. You need to work on dark lining or whatever, right? Then experts are also easy to give feedback to, I find, because you can get more nuanced with your feedback, right? You can start to nitpick things a little more, and they understand some higher concepts, so that they're often quite easy to give feedback to. The people that are a little harder, or the advanced painters that are pretty good, but they're missing a few things, or they're not quite understanding. You try and explain a specific concept, whether it's, I don't know, bounce lights or something, along those lines, and they maybe struggle with some of those stuff, like really subtle shifts in value they can have a hard time with, and yeah, they're often the more difficult to give feedback.
Do you think that like if somebody's is at an intermediate level and wants to go more advanced?
I really believe in this concept of dedicated practice, where all the skills that you have are like a toolbox, and you build this toolbox of knowledge that you can apply, and those concepts that you learn and skills you learn, whether they're brush skills or principles of like light and shadow, etc., you begin to build on those skills, and then you can then take these other concepts and put them together, and they all start to apply and build on top of each other to push. So if someone wants to learn how to paint non-metallic metal, well, just paint knights in armor, right? Like, just do that. And then as you learn about that, maybe learning about non-metallic, and when you really start to understand it, maybe that teaches you something else about understanding reflections, and those that reflect that understanding can then apply to other materials, or and all of this knowledge, just builds and builds.
How important is it for using like references and things like that when it comes to doing work? Because some artists say, or I personally as well, like to refer to photographic reference when it comes to painting or replicating certain concepts like non-metallic metal and things like that.
Yeah, I think reference is super important, but I think there's a difference between copying and reference, right? So like a lot of people can copy an image one for one and just paint what they see, but they don't necessarily understand why they're making the decisions that they're making. Because when you're emulating a piece of artwork or whatever, I've done it before, right? I've painted figures that are based on concept arts or 2D art. The thing you're basing it on, the reference in that case, they've made all the creative decisions for you, and you're just replicating it on the figure, right? But you can still learn from that if you're analyzing while you're making the replica, right? You're trying to get in the mind of the artist or the reference that you're painting from, even if the reference is real materials. Like, don't just paint the lights where you see them. Try and understand why the lights are there.
Yeah, I think when I talked to Alfonso Banshi for the interview, he also mentioned that, like, because there's a lot of kind of tutorials online to do certain things or follow certain recipes and things like that. But if you really want to be, take your work to the next level, you want to be able to understand what you're looking at and actually replicate it in different scenarios, not just a specific recipe of that particular point of light or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like here, I'll ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
Say you're painting non-metallic metal, okay? And you have a recipe. And typically when you paint non-metallic steel, right? What's a color that you would include in a non-metallic steel recipe?
I guess it would have to be the environment that it reflects, not an actual color of the metal itself. Yeah.
But most non-metallic steel recipes would probably include some kind of blue-gray, right?
Yeah, correct.
But why blue-gray?
Yeah, I guess people, they see it commonly used, or maybe it's been used because it's reflecting the sky or something like that. Or
exactly. So the sky is blue, yeah. And often when we see metal, it's outside where it's reflecting the sky.
Yeah.
So you make this correlation between blue and steel, even though really it's the sky.
Yeah.
And if you understand that correlation, now you can go like, well, I'm not painting my scene with a blue sky, so I shouldn't be using blue in my metals, right?
Right. True. Yeah, I guess that's where all the references and stuff come in, and kind of understanding what you're actually looking at rather than even the reference could be, like you said, it could be outside. So that's why it's bluish, grayish color. But, in a different scenario, it could be totally something different. So yeah, I guess makes sense. Like your reference.
It's a lot different.
Yeah.
It's a lot different looking at a suit of armor on a guy that's at a Renaissance fair or something where he's standing outside than looking at a suit of armor in a museum, right?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of kind of going to the idea of using references or understanding references, when you start a project, do you gather references or do some kind of research per se to get started, or you just try to get in there and throw in the colors and paints and see how things work out?
It depends on what I'm painting. Sometimes I can just jump straight into it and really work freely. Oftentimes my plan comes down to what kind of environment this character is, what kind of character is it, what's the lighting situation. Those are the three basic questions I would ask myself, right? And those can then form further decision making. In terms of direct references, often direct references are things like materials or something. It's I want to paint a specific type of leather. What does that leather look like? Or I'm painting an animal, right? I don't know what a raccoon looks like. Do you know exactly what a raccoon looks like? Or a tiger? Do you know if I handed you a model of a tiger and asked you to paint it, could you paint a tiger without looking up a picture of what tiger stripes look like?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't.
Yeah, I know that. Because there's commercial work and then there's your own, personal work that you try to do. And, things that you paint for yourself may not be at the level that, you do commercial work. When you're doing your own personal work, is there any kind of different creative choice that you make? I mean, as you said, it depends on the subject matter, I guess, but is there anything that you are trying to achieve when you do those personal projects, or is just to, kind of be a bit more free form and just try to kind of release your tension of being able to do your own projects?
A lot of times my fun projects are gaming models. So a lot of the goal is just to have a cool looking model to play with, right? Because I still play games, tabletop games and stuff. So a lot of times there's not a lot of creative decision making going on the models that I paint. And it's I can really put on an audiobook, shut my brain off, and just apply paint,
Okay, I guess it's more therapeutic.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to a miniature project, or one that you're doing commercially or more for a display piece, how do you decide when it comes to the lighting of a scene or a particular miniature? Because every project is different, and of course people try to focus the lighting on certain parts of the miniature or figure to kind of highlight that. But is there any kind of reference, or is there any kind of I know I personally like to study kind of old paintings or classical paintings to see how the lighting is done, to focus on certain areas or certain hues and colors used for that particular painting. But is there for you, how do you make that decision of what colors to use and what kind of lighting focuses to have on a particular model? Is there a process for that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of color selection, like I said, just asking myself what the environment I want to put this character in. The easiest question to ask yourself when you paint a model is, who is this character, right? And if you're painting this character, those decisions can form from that. Okay, you're painting a Valkyrie, right? Where, obviously certain themes and things kind of express themselves when you think about Vikings versus demons, right? They're going to have two very different feelings to them. So understanding the character and what kind of environment you want to place them in can often inform the kind of color choices and stuff you make, right? An underwater scene is going to have far different light and colors than a wood elf, right? So those are often how I can inform like kind of the ambience that I want. When it comes to lighting a figure, I'm often looking for something that can add some drama to the figure and express the form really well, right? We're painting something three-dimensional. I want to show off the form of the figure, right? And creating something that's more dramatic with the light can often lead to expressing the form much more clearly.
Speaking of underwater scene, I really like the piece that you did. I think you did it for the competition last year, which you also got a best of show, if I'm not wrong. Right?
Yeah, the World Model Expo.
Yeah. So could you share a bit about that particular piece and how did you come up with the idea and how the process went about for that?
Sure. So the sculptor was Victor Aguilar. We decided to do that project as a collaboration. Like we worked on that project together with the understanding that we would sell it at the end of the project and split the money from it. So we had wanted to do something original together. We wanted to create something that was our own, that wasn't based on a particular piece of concept art or anything. And the idea of it kind of came from, I assume you're familiar with the artist Patrick J. Jones.
Yeah. I've seen his work.
He often does these sort of figures where it's like this very masculine mermaid or masculine pirate character, like cradling a mermaid, and we wanted to kind of like flip that idea on its head and do something that's kind of similar in theme, but where the power position is sort of reversed, right? So that's where the idea came from. I drew some like conceptual sketches of like the composition and stuff for Victor, and then he did all the sculpting and detailing on it.
If you don't mind me asking, like, you eventually sell that piece to a collector?
Yeah, it's in Verco's vault. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I was fortunate to have one of my work recently purchased by them. Speaking of like doing work that are collected by collectors, like, is it common, or is it that you do a piece and then suddenly somebody wants to purchase it?
Normally, pieces are done with a seller already, or with a collector already lined up.
Okay.
Occasionally, I will do a figure for myself, or whether it's for the stream or something like that, that a collector will then ask me afterwards if they can buy it. But most of the time, I would say more than 90% of the time, the figure has already been bought by someone before I even start painting on it. The one for World Model Expo was a bit different. It was done with Victor just as something we wanted to do, and yeah, we figured it would sell afterward.
I know a lot of people, or some of my viewers, they paint as a hobby, or some of them also like participate in competitions and things like that. And of course, having spoken to a lot of artists, they always say, okay, go and just do what you like to do, enjoy the process, and it will kind of show through in your final work. And that's how you kind of level up. And at the same time, if it's good enough, you'll get recognition in the competition. So don't go into competitions, looking for the recognition, but more like just do it for the joy of the hobby. Would you agree with that? Or if somebody wants to participate in competitions in a more serious manner, is there some other approach that you'd suggest?
I'm split on this, because normally most of the time I would agree with you that you should just do what you enjoy and just paint what you like, and you will be recognized in the contest, right? However, if you are of the highest level, right, and you are aiming for a best of show or something, oftentimes that is then, no, you have to do something more, right? It's like, yeah, you could get a gold medal for a bust or something you've painted. But if you want a best of show, then now you're really competing. And you have to do something more than just like, I painted this commercial figure and it's good, right? Like, then you have to make that extra effort and really like aim for that
extra. I guess you need that extra like spice.
You're talking about shows like, let's say, the World Model Expo or Monte Sansovino. You're talking about a show that has 4,000 figures in it. And you want to stand out as that like one single figure that wins best of show, right? It's like, yeah, you have to, or Golden Demon, for example. Like, if you want to be the one figure in Golden Demon that wins the Slayer sword, it can't just be a figure that you bought off the shelf and just painted. Now you've got to like really you're aiming for that at that stage. But that's not to say that people shouldn't compete with just the figures they enjoy painting, right? But that expectation of the highest prize is something different.
Of course, there's the part where, people have expectations when they go into a competition, and if they don't get any awards or get what they expect, there's that certain level of disappointment as well. Like, let's say I want to compete on at that level, I want to get gold, I want to get best of category or best of show. Yet at the same time, I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. Like what advice would you give?
It basically comes back to the conversation we just had, right? It's like, you do what you enjoy and you will receive the recognition for it, right? When I was first entering, right, I wasn't aiming for best of shows. I just was doing figures that I liked to the best of my ability. Then after a few times you win gold, right, you go, okay, maybe I could aim a little higher, right? It's like, maybe I have to push myself that little bit more, and because I think I maybe can get to that place that that highest award, the best of show or something. So it's like, once you see that you're on that trajectory, then you can push yourself even more, right? It's like people that get into basketball, right? Like, not every kid or whatever, or soccer, right? Like, every kid's playing football when they're young, and they maybe have some natural talent, or they play all the time and they practice a lot and they play sports. And then they go, well, they're the best player on their team. So maybe there's something more. And then they have to really train and really push if they want to get to like a professional level, right? And how many people get to that level?
Yeah. I guess.
And I think anyone can do it with enough practice and dedication. But yeah.
I started to paint miniatures, like I said, last year, and then I got into some of the local competitions, which local nearby in my hometown, and I got into I submitted in some competitions and got gold and whatnot. But when I went to the more of an international stage or the regional stage, one of my friends who's also a painter, he suggested that, okay, maybe now, if you want to really push yourself, go and submit into the masters category straight away. And you may not get any kind of medal, but at least you know what the level is, and you try to push and achieve. So since then, like I've submitted in masters, and I haven't really gotten any recognition so far when it comes to any kind of bronze or silver or anything like that. But it was okay by me because I could always see like what's really the standard, and I keep pushing myself. Is that an approach you'd recommend, or would you say, okay, no, you haven't got any recognition, go back to standard and submit and see where you are and then work your way up?
I think it's dependent on the painter, right? I think some people can enter straight away to the master's level. Like, maybe they've been painting. I mean, I know from personal experience, right? My situation was I had been painting at home by myself. I never posted any of my figures online or did anything, right? And I'd been doing that for 10 years before I entered my first contest. So I think it depends. It's each person is different, like, because everyone's at a different point in their painting journey. And some people they could just come out of nowhere and just be like, look at this thing I've been doing, I've done, right? And some people it's better to go through the stages, right? Enter standard, see how you do. Oh, you did well in standard. Okay, maybe you got a silver in standard and you feel like that you're working hard enough that you don't need to get a gold first and you can move up to masters the next year. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's up. That's kind of up to each individual person. But there's no replacement for going to shows and seeing the figures in person, and like you can really like gauge the level than comparing it to like figures on Instagram or something.
Yeah, when I first went to my first show last year, I was like, I mean, that's when I first participated regionally. So I was like, okay, what am I even doing here? It's the standard is so much higher. So yeah, it's really eye-opening when you see the pieces in person, and you can also kind of study them and look at how people do how they do the brushwork and creative choices they make. So it's really, really different than seeing a picture online.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah, go to shows, not only just seeing the figures in hand, being able to talk to the people and ask questions, and oftentimes a lot of the painters are happy to like take a look at your figure and give feedback. So yeah, it's very good in order to like just be there and enter, even if you have no expectation. Like you shouldn't have any expectations, but just enter and enjoy the show, and yeah, get to see all the figures and talk to people, and you can gain a lot of little pieces of wisdom. It might be like one little thing someone says that can totally change your idea on how to do something, you know.
How did that affect you when it came to getting recognized as an artist or getting commercial work?
I mean, that's probably the only reason I got commercial work is because I went to in-person events and I met the people that, you know, own these companies and got to know them, right? They get to see your work in hand. Yeah, the reason I did any work for Hera models, for example, is because I met Diego and he saw one of the Hera models I painted that I brought with me, like at the show. And he was like, hey, are you the guy that painted my model? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I want to talk to you. Like, okay. You know?
Of course, physical events and meeting people is very important, but have you seen any difference when it comes to, because you have an online presence now, you have your Discord, you have your streams and YouTube and whatnot. So through those channels, have you seen like any kind of connections or ways people have approached you to do work or anything like that? Like, how important do you see like growing a community as an artist online?
Growing a community online? I know for sure that growing a community online has helped me in terms of teaching, because I've had people straight up tell me like, oh, I took your class at Adepticon because I watched your video on painting Space Marine heads or something, you know? So that is for sure helped. I think growing a community online is also just helpful for the growth of the hobby in general, right? A lot of people get introduced to this through online, especially now that like, you know, local game stores and stuff isn't quite what it was even before the pandemic, right? So I think online community is good, but there's no replacement for going to shows in person.
What's your thoughts on, you know, the AI bubble or whatever it is, or the hype?
That's my thoughts. I hate it. I mean, I hate it so much.
Whatever we are doing is more a physical, a tangible product, so it doesn't affect us as much. But when it comes to like the
it does.
I mean, yes. I guess there are some things where you do see it pop up here and there, but yeah, I mean,
it does in terms of like concepting and yeah, and now you've got things like Shitbox or whatever can do like AI sculpts and crap, and it's just derivative garbage. It's there's no creativity involved. There's no like humanity or soul in it. It's awful. I hate it.
Is there any, like, some people might say, okay, of course AI has its own ethical problems, and it's all derivative and it's no skills involved, but is there any part of an artist arsenal that you see AI could be used? Like AI, in a way, as much as we don't like it, it's not going away. It seems to like kind of here to stay. But is there any part of an artist arsenal that it could be part of in any way, shape or form?
I mean, I could see like maybe using it for some things just as like an idea brainstorming thing, but like beyond that, no, I don't really, I don't think it's great, right?
Yeah.
Like
problem with AI is that it's all derivative. It's based on using existing existing people.
Oh, and now it's like a Ouroboros, right? The snake eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Like it's now generating more content based off the content it already generated.
Yeah.
And it's this like self-feeding loop of the AI stuff is becoming somehow it's becoming more the same, right? It's like you see this content that's just like obviously AI because that's just the style that AI has like started to develop.
What the conversation or what the situation will be like in maybe 2 to 3 years, because now it's all very new and the way it is going, it's not like looking very positive. So I guess it will be interesting to see how it really works out, because I used to work in video games a long time ago, and it seems to be replacing a lot of commercial work, like for artists who do of course from a business standpoint they're doing it because it saves them costs, but I think
there's totally legitimate tools it can be used for, right? Like redoing topology on ZBrush models, or upscaling textures or things like that, right? Like, sure, that stuff is like, that's just a tool to help you streamline your process. But when it comes to like the creative side of AI, like, I don't find it has any worth.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the automation will be on the tool side of things, and hopefully, I mean, we are seeing like commercial work kind of being replaced by AI in some ways, but hopefully the conversation will be more towards the creative side, or the value of real people's creativity is really seen or kind of shines through at the end, because I think a lot of companies are replacing artists or using AI just because it's the in thing now. And from what I know in my network, a lot of people are having a hard time finding jobs like they used to before, because a lot of companies are switching to automation and AI and things like that. As I mentioned, I'm more of a sculptor, and I mean that's kind of my strong suit. Like in a way that when I participate in competitions, I've kind of gotten recognition on that side of things. But when it came to painting, as I mentioned, like I'm trying to go for the master's category, and if I have the skills to sculpt and paint, ideally I would want to sculpt and paint and submit that same piece for competition. But I find myself when I sculpt something, I'm done with it, and then I don't have the urge to paint it per se, because maybe I've been sculpting it for so long, looking at it for so long, I don't feel like painting it. So I end up painting pieces for I'm more interested in painting the pieces that other people have done, and it gets me excited to do those pieces and submit those for the competition. So I
don't think that's weird. Do you know who Remy Tremblay is?
I may have heard of him. Sounds familiar. Maybe I will recognize by the work.
Remy Tremblay is a French sculptor. He worked for Cool Mini or Not for many years. He's done a lot of sculpting. He's also won 2 Best of Painting awards in Monte with commercial figures because he doesn't like painting his own figures.
Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, why don't you paint one of your own figures and enter it in the open category? And he's like, I don't like painting my own figures. Okay. So I don't think that's weird.
Yeah. I was thinking, why don't I paint my own figure? Like, people have asked me, like, why don't you paint the figures that you sculpt? And I'm like, I don't know. For some reason, I'm more interested in painting other people's figures than my own. So I was thinking, am I losing out somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think it's like you said, you maybe get a little sick of it after you're done sculpting it, and you're like, I don't really want to put paint on this. You know all the things that you could have done differently on the sculpt and stuff, and
because as I said, I do full-time commissions, and then I have like my own sculpts that I release as kits, and then at the same time I want to do projects that I am, my own personal projects of like painting figures of other people. So I'm trying to find that balance, like, how much time I should spend on each of this. I was kind of thinking about it last night as well. Like, I'm constantly doing commission work and I don't have enough time to do those other things as well. So, I mean, any advice you have for me? Like, I guess we talked about it a bit earlier, I guess, but is there?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. You have to make time for yourself, okay? One of the reasons I started the stream to begin with was I wanted to give myself one day every week that no matter what, I had to put down whatever commercial figure or like box art I was doing, and I painted something for me, right? So that one day a week, I am guaranteed that I'm going to paint something that is for me. And that like just having that schedule like forces me to do that, and I always find it enjoyable. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, that's also my takeaway. I understand that I have to kind of when I was self-reflecting and talking to you, I also kind of understand that it's important that I kind of set myself up some time to do those things that I want to do and not just the commercial stuff or things I have to do, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And something like, that's not to say that personal projects can't become commissions afterwards, right? I've started figures on stream that then became figures that I sold because I had no attachment to them. Like, they're not the only figures that I 100% keep for myself for my gaming figures. I'm not going to sell those. I need them. So like the other stuff, the busts and things that I paint on stream, like I can sell them afterwards, right? So it affords me the opportunity to do something I want to do, but I don't have any attachment to keeping it.
Yeah, I mean, it happened to me as well, where the one I just showed you for feedback is actually just a personal project. I saw the models, they were cool. I made the base for it and I painted it just for fun. Then I entered it into the competition and somehow ended up being sold to Verco. So yeah, I mean, just so happens that sometimes things that you enjoyed painting turns into something commercial.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think that's unusual at all, because oftentimes things you do for yourself, you tend to put more passion and things into. And yeah, sometimes I try and do the best I can on every single piece I do, right? Well, not every single piece, but every single commission I do. But sometimes a figure might just, a personal figure, right? A fun project might just strike you as something you want to paint, and because it's like gets you excited or whatever, you do something different or something exciting on it, and the result might end up being better anyways. So first I would ask, what scale is this? Is this like 32 millimeter or slightly bigger?
It's about 32.
So one of the first things when I look at any figure, right, is I'm trying to just like take in sort of the overall scene, right? I'm trying to take everything in at once. So I'm looking at like a lot of things like the composition and you know, the color choices, how are the values, like all of these things sort of together, right?
Yeah.
So you've got this sort of like dungeon, kind of D&D party sort of scene going on. Pretty nice. The some of the rendering is pretty good. Like the colors. So okay. So the first thing that I kind of see, right?
Yeah.
Is this sort of cross, right? We've got this kind of cross pattern here.
Yeah.
And for me, I find it slightly stiff. Right? It's a little too perfect. Feels very posed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to feel very posed no matter what when you do a scene like this with multiple figures.
Yeah.
But I think if one of these figures was like moved up or down a little bit, or move this guy off to the side a little bit, right? In order to make it not so rigid, make it have like a little more natural flow to it, I think it would help the overall composition. There's some interesting choices with in terms of color, with using like the red spot color in order to draw attention. Like the red on him is quite strong. You have red here, right? Even though his beard is orange, it's kind of red. So it's nice that these kind of pull the eye in certain areas where you want it. But I find that she is really lacking in any of the splash color, so she kind of falls away a little bit because of her more muted color palette. She gets kind of lost in the scene, right? Like he has this sort of blue rim light thing going on that makes him, and the bit of red in his eye that helps him stand out a little bit. But in terms of like color saturation, these three are very strong compared to her at the moment.
Got it.
So one thing I would consider, way back. Okay, one thing I would consider for her is to find a way to like give her a splash of color somewhere, right? Whether that's on her armor, or maybe it's you know, on the feathers or something, in order to make her
stand out.
Make her stand out a little bit more. Or the other option, right, is to reduce a little bit some of the other ones in order that they don't feel quite so strong, right?
Okay.
If we took him, for example, and I reused one of the greens like over here, so instead of going quite so strong this way, and if I did something like this where I kind of gray out his robe a little, I can now, he might balance a little more against her because he's not quite so strong as he was before.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
It's like the difference between this and this allows these two to balance against each other a little.
Yep.
And the same could be said for even him, like this guy, like maybe just toning down the red just a touch, right? Might not make him feel like quite so strong. So that would be one thing I'd look at. The next thing I kind of look at is with the drawer, or with the figures in the scene. I'm looking for a consistency in terms of like light and shadow. So you have this nice light at the top here.
Yeah.
It's this cool sort of blue light that goes across, which helps tie these figures together. And there's some stuff with some colder colors in the base and the shadows, right? That come through. But when it comes to the figures, a couple of the figures don't seem to necessarily feel like they fit the ambience. Okay, so for example, on the wizard, you have this almost iridescent feeling cloak where the cloak shifts from this very warm kind of teal green, right, to a very strong, like almost like royal phthalo blue kind of color, right? So this is sort of telling me, unless the cloak is supposed to be shifting color, this sort of tells me that I would expect to see more of that happening on some of the other figures, right? Where I would expect more shift like on him. So instead of like just kind of black shadows here, right? I might be expecting to see some sort of purplish colors appear in his shadows because everything is shifting more towards these cold valley. Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
So consistency in the environment in this case, like even in his face, like, you know, maybe there's some cool tones begin to appear in these areas. In the pants also, like, not saying necessarily purple, maybe these are more like bluish colors or something, right? I expect to find some more of these sorts of cold, this cold environment shadows appearing in other parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I have I think I know the answer, but I'm going to guess that you painted these characters individually and then put them on the base. Except maybe the werewolf. I'm guessing the werewolf was maybe painted on the base.
Actually, I painted all of them separately and then put them together in the base and then kind of tried to bring it together. Yeah, but I did paint all of them separately. Yeah.
So when you're assembling a big scene like that comes across, right? Like because of the imbalance and the kind of the ambience of some of them not all working together. That becomes quite evident to me that they were painted separately from the scene, you know? I think when you're doing a piece like this, when you're doing 5 figures together, it's important to like constantly be checking them or have a really solid plan of like, okay, this is the sort of ambience that I'm going for. I need to make sure that not only on the wizard, but on the archer, on the dwarf, everything needs to have some sort of, the shadows need to shift towards blue or something, right?
Got it. Yeah,
in order that when you assemble it all together, that theme fits throughout.
Yeah, I think those are very good feedback. I think compositionally it's a bit stiff, so it could be a little bit more organic or kind of broken apart, break the symmetry a little bit perhaps, and then making the lighting more consistent throughout. Would you say that in terms of like brushwork or refinement, I could have done more?
This is always a hard thing to judge because like to base purely off of photos, because a lot of times like brushwork comes across a little more in hand. But when I look at some of this stuff, like this maybe looks a little rough to me. Some of the brushwork like on the tree maybe comes across as a little rough. Maybe some of the brushwork on like the base. I think the dwarf looks quite nice. I think she also looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe some of this is a little rough, but and maybe certain parts could have like more texture, right? But it's not bad, but there's always room for improvement on that.
Okay.
Yeah, like if I was to point out one specific area, right, it might be like on this leather where you could take something like first I would probably add some more shadows into certain parts. Like I would probably push some of the shadows to separate this belt a little more, right? Like this one has a nice dark shadow that you could probably push like this, increase the definition here, and you can see how you have this kind of like dark sort of blob around the buckle here, or whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
The rondelle, I guess, is in a situation like this, you can increase the definition even more by pushing that light up right next to that shadow, and it will really like sharpen that, right? So a lot of times what we're aiming for, especially on small scale, is definition, right? Contrast is not always the most important thing, but this is a type of contrast right here. Like dark right next to light is a contrast.
Yeah.
So by removing and making this even sharper, we actually increase the contrast in a way. And maybe I can push some of the lights like a little bit further, and maybe there's a little where these studs go into the leather shoulder, like maybe they dimple into the leather, and those dimples create little bits of light there. So you can hopefully see, like, between these two, that the rendering feels a little more
defined.
Even though it's more flat, right? It's sharper and more defined. So it increases the readability. Like this part of him becomes much more defined in the after.
Yeah. You can see it.
Huh?
Yep. Cool. Lots of insight.
So yeah, that's what that would be my big takeaways for you. My other big takeaway would definitely be like on how you're doing some of the rocks and stuff. And I know this is probably quite textured. So when you're doing something this textured, right, I try and simplify quite a bit. So what I would do is this is getting into the idea of like it's often really easy to get into the details first, right? So just doing something like simplifying some of the general shapes that you see here can make the overall like form of the rocks, like maybe there's some light that sneaks in over here, right? Like simplifying the platform he's standing on. Maybe some of these rocks down here catch some light, and simplifying these shapes, and then we can darken this down. And you're using, what I would do is I would also start to shift everything a little more cold, right? Because we're using more of a blue gray, right? Then I would start to create some more basic forms, so you don't really need all this, as much of this texture and noise, right? We want to simplify first, and then you can start to add more little details as you go, like little cracks and things. We can push that shadow even more. Right. Getting these large volumes in before we start introducing too much value differentiation in the texture, right? We got to get the basic volumes in correct. before we start ever thinking about,
Details,
shifts in texture and stuff. Right. So something like this, and then you could you could come in and now start introducing little highlights here and there or wherever you want. And if another idea might be to actually like lower the overall value of the rocks in general, just so that they don't, because you can see right now they feel quite bright.
Yeah.
And you can see just how bright the rocks are. There you can see just let me delete this, whatever the heck happened here. You can see just how much that like sort of simplifies the shape and kind of makes the overall shape of the rocks more readable. But then, maybe taking this instead of something like that, we take it and here's something like, just lower all this down some, right? Just shift this down. And it's like, it's not as important that this is really bright, right? Because we don't want people looking at the rocks. We want people looking at the characters.
What I tried to do initially was to create the rocks to be more textured compared to the characters, which didn't have as much texture. But I think it works kind of against my piece. So like you said, maybe it's better that the rocks are simplified so that the characters stand out more.
Yeah, and also this is a personal taste thing of mine. Like when you have a piece that is very stylized like this, like the sculpting of this, is it like a tree or something over back here, or some smoke? I think it's a tree, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the tree and the rocks and the characters are all sculpted in a very stylized manner. I think, and then you paint the characters in a bit of a stylized manner. You have to also then paint the rocks, right? Like the environment should match the style of the piece in a way. So paint the approach to painting the rocks. Like, why do we paint the base super realistic, but then paint the characters with a more stylized approach?
I guess to make it more consistent, we want to make it more consistent overall, I guess. But yeah, it was great talking to you. I mean, thanks again so much for your time. And how can people, get into your Feedback Friday sessions?
Go to my Twitch channel. There's the link to the Discord, so you can join the Discord there. And then you have to, if you want to submit a figure for Feedback Friday, you have to subscribe to the Twitch and link your Discord account with your Twitch account. That'll give you access to the channel in the Discord where you can submit photos.
What are you waiting for? Slap the shit out of that button.